Have you ever wondered if there's a silver bullet to recruiting all the qualified landscaping professionals and selling at a high close rate to super qualified leads? Well, I'm going to be frank, there is no silver bullet, but there's something pretty close, and it's a paperback book. That's right, writing a paperback book remains one of the top things that you could do to build your authority in any industry. And in today's episode, I'm excited to interview Monique Allen, who's the author of Stop Landscaping Start Life-Scaping, a guide to ending the rush, humdrum approach to landscape development and care. It's a really enjoyable book. And in today's interview, Monique shares how to actually publish your book, or even an ebook if writing a whole paperback book sounds daunting. Plus, we share some tips that can help you write a book without actually writing it. Maybe you like using video. I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I get a ton of written content done by recording video. Monique also shares how to lead your company culture, mission, and vision, and why it's essential to thriving during a weird economy and whatever comes at your business. And we'll also see a sneak peek of Monique's actual homestead. She has a tremendous landscape, and we'll see some photos. We'll see a sneak peek of Monique's incredible landscape that she's developed over the last couple decades, and why she believes that the driveway is the secret to an amazing arrival experience. My name is Jack Jostes, and welcome to the Landscaper's Guide to Modern Sales and Marketing. This show is all about helping lawn and landscape contractors increase your profit and enjoy a better lifestyle by attracting the right customers to your business. And I'm super excited to share this interview with Monique. It was really fun. She shares a lot of great tips about management, leadership, sales, marketing. We talk about her book and her garden, and she even shares some incredible books that her landscaping company is reading as part of their book club. So be sure to check out this entire interview with Monique to get all the goodness she has to offer.
We weren't getting the leads that I knew we could. We weren't getting the right leads.
What started happening is that our leads are more qualified.
Our sales have probably gone up by about 10 to 15% a year.
We're going to increase our sales volume by $1 million in a year.
All right, everyone, today I'm excited to interview Monique Allen. She's the author of Stop Landscaping, Start Life-Scaping, a guide to ending the rush, humdrum approach to landscape development and care. And Monique has been in the landscape industry for over 30 years, and she currently runs the Garden Continuum. Monique, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thank you. My name's Monique Allen. I own the Garden Continuum. We're a multiple seven-figure award-winning landscape company out of Massachusetts. And our specialty really is in doing what I call Life-Scapes.
And so why do people need to stop landscaping? Everyone's listening. They're currently doing a lot of landscaping. Why would somebody stop landscaping, and what does life-scaping mean to you?
Yeah, awesome question. So to set it up initially, landscaping is something you look at, right? We landscape and we look at a landscape. Life-scaping is something that you live in, something that absolutely transforms how you are being in the land that you're in.
Great. And, before we started the recording today, you and I were catching up a little bit about you launched your book on March 23rd of 2020. Really great time to start a book launch, right?
Yep.
Everything, all of your live events were canceled, and that's cool thing is part of that's how we connected, because you started looking for podcasts. Tell us a little bit. I really enjoyed reading in your book about how you and your husband bought your property. Was it about 30 years ago that you bought it?
23 years ago.
Okay, 23 years ago, you guys bought this property, and it was not because of the home there, but really because of the land. And you envisioned a garden, and you talked about how you started designing that really the day that you signed the papers. And that you built a homestead there. And I'd like for you to share your screen. Tell us a little bit about what does your Life-Scape look like? What does your homestead look like? And how has it kind of played out with the whole social distancing thing that you've had to shift to, that we've all had to shift to lately?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you a little setup to start. So, basically, so my property's 2.5 acres, and I had an acre before that at another home. And I knew that I couldn't go down, had to go up. But in order to go up, I didn't have the money to buy something that was finished. So I went out away from the metropolis to find some place where I could find land. So I found a little peanut of a cape on 2.5 acres with pretty much dead flat land in the front and a huge slope and woodland in the back. And I thought, I can do something with this. We made a list, right? So I have this thing about like a list of all the things you want. And we got everything on the list, except the things I didn't ask for. So like, I didn't ask for deep, rich loam. So I got sand. And I didn't ask for water. So I got a town that always had water bans and whatever. So, what ended up happening is I ended up trucking in, tractor trailer loads of compost and loam to build soil. And I had to drill a pretty big well. So, there's this whole thing about a homestead, which starts with the vision. And so the vision really was, how do we develop a place that can follow us in the evolution of our life? And it ended up being an amazing exercise that I was able to use to write the book, but also to use throughout my whole career to help other people do the exact same thing, whether it was a 1/4 acre or 5 acres. So that's now, do you want me to show you a picture?
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
Okay. All right. So I'll show you a picture just to kind of get you started. And I'm going to show you this one first, because this is kind of my pride and joy this year. This is my, I call it the Maribel Potager Garden. So it's my vegetable garden. And, I'm of a certain age and my back is getting certain creaks, and I didn't want to bend over. This whole place was rowed out like a real vegetable garden in the past, and I decided I just wanted something different. And so I built this up. It has produced so much food. It's still producing food. It's incredible. And when I designed it, I had no pandemic in mind. I was not thinking about the pandemic. These 2 blue chairs have absolutely become my visiting space. I hang out with my kids there. I hang out with my friends there. It has just been so much fun. And those chairs are nice and big, and they're perfectly physically distanced so that we're really socially connected and together. And to me, this really embodies how a Life-Scape functions, right? So as your life changes and evolves, that Life-Scape feeds you and gives you the opportunity to still be hyper engaged in your life. And who would have known a pandemic would have come? I mean, I certainly didn't know one was coming. And so this totally followed and was able to provide such an amazing space for us to just be in. So that's that one. I can show you more, or I'll just let you lead.
Well, yeah, let's see one more photo, and tell me about, one of the things that you mentioned in your book and that you were telling me about your home landscape is the experience of arriving at a home and the role that landscaping plays into that. So tell us about why is that? Why does that matter in design? And then what were some of the choices you made in your own personal life?
Yeah, so arrival experience to me is huge. And the picture that I'm trying to pull up right here is I'm going to pull up a couple of pictures that show this arrival experience. So basically what you can see, and I'll just scroll through, you can see that there's this building that looks like it has a barn door on it. That's my garage with a loft. And then here is my house. And you can see that you can see how the juxtaposition now in this picture, where the garage is off to the right. You can't even see my driveway. This is an entry that we did as an add-on. and then the original house, which is the main house on the left there, and then the dormers. And so interestingly, this house was nothing more than that cape with no dormers. And what I was trying to do, and the driveway, let me just tell you, the driveway literally went straight up from the front to where you can see the electric meter on the little bump out. The drive, it went right like that, like a runway. And Norfolk Airport was close to me, and it was over 200 feet long. And it was so unsexy. I mean, let me tell you, it's like boring. So the arrival experience has two main components. One is invitation, and the second is comfort. And when we have like mass construction of a lot of houses, driveways are a means to an end. And normally driveways were used by the construction teams to build the house. So especially if it's a longer driveway, they end up being kind of unsexy. And it's probably ridiculous for me to using sexy and driveway in the same, sentence. But if you really do arrival experience well, then what you do is you create this experience of somebody entering a property that invites them comfortably to go there. And one of the key components of comfort is that it is wide enough, it's navigable, and it's very easy to park. You do not create stress where the person is driving in going, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this driveway? Mm-hmm. And we've all had that feeling where you feel like you don't know where to put your car. You don't know if you should do a 27-point turn and then back in so that when you leave, you can drive out. And I think that driveways are one of those forgotten element. And that for me was a huge part of the Life-Scapes experience and the homestead experience, because it makes visiting my house really comfy.
Cool. Yeah, it looks great, and I'd love to hang out and just look at all your photos. But
we'd be here for a week.
We would. Monique, it has been 6 months since you launched your book, and I'm curious, from a marketing perspective for your landscaping company, what are some of the impacts of becoming a published author? How has that impacted your business, and how are you using the book to market to your landscape clients?
Well, the book has solidified for me my own personal clarity about my brand. And as I was developing the brand of my company, and when I came upon Life-Scape as what I wanted to have be the central theme of what I was doing, I realized that I was creating friction in some senses to people working with me because they didn't know what a Life-Scape was. So I realized that I now had to educate people around what Life-Scape was. And so I was doing that in the website. I was doing that on all of my assessment meetings and using the terminology. But when I wrote the book, I had to dig in really deeply into all of the facets of Life-Scape. And now when I talk about Life-Scape, I can say to people, well, in my book, you should get a copy of my book. And so like my whole Instagram account, like every Sunday I do a book reading. And what's happening is people now are using my language back at me. And that is the coolest thing. Like when somebody actually calls me, first time I've ever talked to them, and they say something like, oh, my arrival experience is just awful. All of a sudden, it's like I've pre-educated my audience through my website, through my ebooks, through my blog, and now through the book. They're pre-educated and they're pre-qualified. When they come to me, they know exactly what they're talking about using the language that I've given them. And I have found that like it's up-leveled, not only the sales closure, because sales close much quicker. The other thing is it's like up-leveled my experience because I'm having fun. I'm teaching to the next level as opposed to always teaching from the base level.
That's amazing. And that is an incredible experience that I've had as well, having published my book, is that people actually read it and listen to what you say and will use your words back to you. And it's kind of spooky at first, almost. It's like, oh yeah, I wrote that. So for the people who are listening, the landscape business owners who are watching or listening, thinking, oh man, how could I possibly write a book? The fact is, it is a lot of work. and it's amazingly powerful. How did you get it done, and what tips would you have for, small business owners, especially landscapers listening, who have thought about writing a book? Maybe they're starting it, but they haven't quite finished. Do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I would say that if you're not already a writer, that writing a book is a big undertaking. I would start with ebooks, because I think ebooks are so powerful, and I think that from a marketing angle, an ebook is something that you can get help writing. It will not break the bank, and it is such a credibility builder. So you got to remember too, I'm going to back up to one of your earlier questions when you said, why would you say Stop Landscaping? And, I was being playful in the title, because whenever you're trying to sell a book, you've got there's a little shock and awe. So, I landscape every day of my life, so I'm not going to really stop landscaping. Right. But
Right.
it was about, and then I go into it in the book, that it's really about shifting perspective. So let's say, you've decided to really take on organic lawn management, and you really, really want people to start building deep soils so that they can get deep roots, so that they don't have to water all the time. Then you might write an ebook on, the benefits of organic lawns, but you would come up with a cool title. And if they were working with you guys would do title searches, and you would come up with something really neat. And then the key points to organic lawn management, the key points to organic lawn development, putting those in a book. And then if you, the owner, are writing it, then also putting in some of like the flavor of you into that, so that it's not just, it's differentiating between awareness and consideration. It's differentiating between, are these people even aware that organic lawn care exists? But once you've made them aware and educated them a little, you must put them into the bucket of considering you. And that's why the personal stories that would get woven into that ebook are so, so important. And you do a 15-page or a 25-page ebook, I'm telling you right now, that is going to be so powerful. And then do another ebook. If you are already a writer and you want to write a book, absolutely do it. But understand that the usefulness of a book is different than a usefulness of an ebook, something that you can maybe even give away.
Yeah, well, definitely. I love the idea of making an ebook first, and even a 15 to 25 page ebook, depending on what kind of photos and graphics you have in there, might not even be that much writing, but it could still be very helpful. And it's something that you could put on your website as a lead magnet, like download the top 5 things to do for organic, lawn maintenance, or whatever the topic that you're selling.
Yeah. So I have an example. I'm going to give you an example, just a quick one, and then I'll let you keep going. I have an ebook called The Landscape Business Owner's Survival Guide. And it's a 15-page ebook. Oh, it might be a little more than 15 pages, but there are 15 financials, like 15 financial considerations. It's free. And it is that ebook is downloaded probably, I don't know. It's got to be downloaded at least 20 times a week. And it's amazing, because it's been such a lead magnet for other parts of, my landscape business coaching. So I think if you can do something that doesn't cost you a ton of money, and that you can give a ton of value, and like you said, use it as a lead magnet, it will definitely connect you to the clientele that really need that through organic search. Definitely.
And so for people who are interested in those 15 numbers, where can we get that ebook?
Oh, right on my website. You can get it. It will be right in my store. So if you pop on to the gardencontinuum.com, on the upper right, it's going to say shop, and you just go to the shop, and there's a whole bunch of free stuff. There's classes, there's ebooks to buy, ebooks to get for free. It's like 7 ebooks that you can get for free.
Great. Yeah. So the gardencontinuum.com, and continuum's kind of tough to spell, so we're going to put the link to that in the show notes. Great. Yeah. And for those listening who are like, you know what, I am not good at writing, I'm not a writer. I don't have an ebook. I haven't even thought of that. The idea of writing something is just terrifying and daunting to me. Some people are much better communicating on video. And I've noticed, you have talent both in writing and doing video. Your YouTube channel, the Garden Continuum Inc., has had over 4 million views since you created the channel in 2011. And I was just learning about how to deadhead all different kinds of things. We've got videos on how to deadhead salvia that has been viewed over 80,000 times. And so I recommend all my clients make video, and I make a lot of my video on an iPhone. Putting it on a tripod. I have a little mic. That's good enough, honestly, to get started. And a tool that I use for the podcast is rev.com. So we make our video and then we transcribe it with rev.com, edit it, and now I have a video and some video or written content. So that's another way that you could get your ebook started is through making a video first, editing it. Tell us why do you make so many videos, and what are some of the impacts that that it's had on your business?
Well, I started making videos probably back in 2010 or 11, or maybe even before then. And I made a video in 2011 called How to Deadhead a Daylily with an iPhone 5 with my 11-year-old daughter holding the iPhone. You can tell because it's got a little shake to it. And that video went crazy. It kind of went around the world, and it got so many views, and people were mentioning it, and we had a ton of comments. And I thought, wow, I wonder if how to deadhead is a thing, or how to is definitely a thing. So I decided to do how to deadhead a salvia, using the same method, but with a better camera, with more foreplanning. And that one then skyrocketed over how to deadhead a daylily. And what I realized is that one of my specialties is fine gardening. Fine gardening is much more popular now, but when I started, I've been in the business for 35 years. So when I started, it really wasn't a thing. And still now, people don't really know. Like if I said that I did maintenance, people would think I was mowing a lawn. But because I fine garden, I need to use a different word. But if I say I'm a gardener, they think I'm doing vegetable gardens. So the videos help to demystify the core of my service, which is fine gardening. And it gave anybody who worked with me, for me, I even use it as training videos internally to train my gardeners. But anybody who was my client who had an interest in gardening, it was empowering people to garden for themselves. And I think that sometimes in business, there's a fear of arming the DIYer with too much because we feel like they'll take it away from us. But what I've found is exactly the opposite. And I think the pandemic has been a very, very good test for this. Everybody's home. People are more able to garden for themselves, but there's a limit to what they can do. So if you can teach them clearly how to do what they want to do, and then they start reaching and doing a little more and a little more, they go, oh, okay, enough. Call Monique. Right?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. What? I mean, and who are they going to trust more? Somebody who has helped them, like they've spent several times listening to, maybe even hours, or someone that they don't know at all. I've always, personally in my own business, I've been doing that for about 10 years of making video content about how to do stuff. The other amazing thing that I love about video is that the point that you mentioned about training your people. Yes. Right? Because there's going to be a certain way that Monique Allen wants to deadhead a lily. And I'm guessing that you're going to want your people to do it that way, right? So why not make a video that has the dual purpose of marketing for clients that can also be used in training? The other thing that I found about video, everyone listening if you're listening, you're not having this problem, call me. I'm curious. I want to know what you're doing. You should be a guest on the show. Everyone's having a hard time finding people to do work, to work for their team. Recruiting is always a challenge in the green industry. And by putting yourself out there as an author, and you're making yourself out there on YouTube, you're on social media, people are going to want to work for you. Mm-hmm. And I know that part of your business, in addition to running the Garden Continuum, is business coaching. And one of the topics that you coach on is building culture. Tell us a little bit about building culture and how has video... First, all right, two things. First, how has video impacted your company culture? And then what are some of the things that you end up coaching people on?
Okay, so where video has impacted my culture is that if you go onto the website and you go to our careers page, one of the things you'll see right away is a really wonderful video of my team and all these quotes of things that they say. And there's also a slider that has pictures of my team and their quotes. So the idea is that I have really leaned into making this company their company, that the culture. So culture is one of those things that unfortunately we try very hard as owners sometimes to get people to toe the line. Just do what I say, do it the way I want you to do it. It's just toe the line. And it's not because owners are bad people. It's because they are driven and they want to get stuff done and they want it done right. The problem is with culture, when we try to shove culture down people's throats, you get resistance. And so it took me a long time to learn this because I was so idealistic and I really wanted this wholesome culture and I was shoving it down people's throats. And I realized that it wasn't working. And so that what I needed to do was I needed to become more observant and more curious about my staff and then really kind of embrace them into what was needed to build the culture. And so when I teach them through video, it's fun because they're immediately empowered and they can do it in their own space. When we ask them to be on video and to speak up as an advocate for the company, we're feeding into their personal pride. And I think it's really, really important for personal pride when you're building a team. And then thirdly, when people are looking to find a job and they see your people and you see the smiles and you read their quotes, they think to themselves, wow, that looks like a fun place to work.
Yeah, I love that. And the last one of those points that you made about them, when they see the people, when they're thinking of working for you, and your careers page, you guys all need to see it, is the gardencontinuum.com, and go to the careers page. I'm going to share my screen so that way people watching can see. I mean, there's people in branded uniforms. They are smiling. They're still doing work, right? It doesn't make it look necessarily easy, but there are great photos, branded vehicles, branded shirts, people having fun here. There's a video. You're doing a lot of these things well. That I'm actually giving a presentation with the Life-Scapes virtual conference for the NALP about recruiting and how to do digital recruiting. And one of the things is make the benefits really clear. What are the benefits? So many landscaping career pages are like a wanted ad. They sound awful. It's like wanted someone to, dig a hole in the sun, but so you're talking about some of these things about relationships, monetary benefits, eye care insurance. How many of you listening have eye care insurance? For real though. I mean, so this you're doing a lot of things really well here. And what are some of the other ways that people can discover even what should your culture be like? I know that in my experience, and I would think that most of the people listening have had this experience where, I don't know, you're good at something, whether it's landscaping or lawn care or whatever. You don't maybe want to work for other people, so you start doing your own thing, and then you're like, yeah, I'm pretty good at this, and you start hiring people, right? And you may not even really have a vision of the company that you're building. You just kind of started building it. these things like company vision and culture kind of sound like business consultant jargon. They seem unimportant when there's so much work to do. Why is having a vision and a culture important if you're really trying to grow a team?
Well, I'm gonna kind of cycle back to something that's gonna make total sense to you. Early on in my business building career, I read Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth. It was The E-Myth Revisited.
Mm-hmm.
And then many, many years later, he decided to work with all different industries. And I know you just interviewed Tony Bass, and Tony Bass wrote The E-Myth Landscape Contractor. And, you know, the basis really of the E-Myth is saying that, you know, and it's the entrepreneurial myth, is that if you're a technician and you're really, really crushing the work, like you can do the work, the first thing that comes into people's minds is, you know, I should be a manager. They should pay me to be a manager. And then, you know, so you get paid to be a manager and you realize that you've got all these annoying people that are getting in the way of doing the work that you're so good at.
Right.
And then you say, well, forget this. If I'm going to do that, I might as well own my own company. So you go out and you decide you own your own company. And now not only are you a manager, but you're also a leader, and you're also a salesperson, and your whole back office.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I love about the way the E-Myth works, and then how when it was written again with Tony, is really that it demystifies ownership, and that if you want to own a business, you really must be interested in business. To determine that it's time for me to own a business because I want to make more money is very short-sighted. And so the reason why a vision and a mission are so important is because just like nature, just like the landscape, evolution is something that will not be held back, not by anybody. And your business will evolve. It'll evolve because, you know, one year you have no employees and the next year you have 3. It will evolve because one year you have 5 employees and the next year you have a pandemic. And so if you don't have a vision and you don't have a mission, you don't have clarity of purpose, then what will happen is that when life throws you curveballs, you are going to get hit in the head, as opposed to go, whoop, sideswipe that one, because you're nimble, because you have such clarity. And here's the kicker. If you've spent the time to build a culture and build a team that will be behind you, the team that will be behind each other, then when, pardon my French, the shit hits the fan, everybody's out of the way or running block for everybody else. And you find that what I have found in this pandemic is that the culture in my company is so solid. It surprised me. I just love my people. They're just so cool. And man, I'm telling you, that's something to strive for in business. Yes, you should make money. Yes, you should think about how to scale, you know, yes, all of that. But to be an owner and to be able to go through what we've all just gone through and be like, whew, I have got a killer group with me. That's satisfaction.
That's absolutely right. And I love the E-Myth. You know, I remember reading the E-Myth Revisited was like life-changing for me. It really was. My business was such a state of chaos, and I had a business coach who was like, "Oh, you got to read the E-Myth," and I finally did. And I know that Tony Bass, I loved interviewing Tony, and I loved reading his book. We actually read his book as a team here. We have a book club at Ramblin' Jackson.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah, right on. What else? Well, let me finish,
Okay,
and then we'll ask
what
else you're reading. And for him, the experience of reading the E-Myth was life changing. And then he built his company and was eventually able to sell it. So I love that, and I found the same thing about the culture and the people here at Ramblin' Jackson. You know, I feel blessed that we were able to keep working. One, we're a remote company. I know you checked out our podcast last week, and we did that 6 months ahead of the whole pandemic thing. Yeah. By choice, we decided to go remote. So when it happened, we were like, I don't know, it was this weird situation where we're like, hey, we are ready to really help. And everyone stepped it up here to help our clients. And there was a lot of work to be done. There was a lot of work. It was a chaotic time, but we were really excited to help our clients.
Yeah.
And everyone here was on board with that. What are you reading now in your book club?
So I can tell you, I'm going to tell you a couple that we just read that have been really good. A couple of years ago, I read Ownership Thinking, which was really a very dense book, but really, really good. It really helped me to see how everyone can kind of have their own little entrepreneurial bubble, and how valuable that is, not only to functionality of a company, but to bottom line. So that gave me a lot of language to use with my team. We read The Energy Bus, and it's a short book, John Gordon, and he's like the master of positivity. And that book was fun. We had fun with that book. It was like such an easy read, so we all flew through it, and it gave us, again, language to use about certain behaviors. And then this year we read Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, and I'll tell you, that is like a rule book, and it has been so amazing because it has given us language to use when it's really hard. So something like, hey, do you have a minute? I need to talk to you about something, and I'm feeling like it might be a little bit of a rumble, so I just want you to hear me out, and then we can either rumble now or rumble later. Right? So you're basically saying to somebody, I want to fight you. You know? And it is a really safe way, because the whole idea is about leaning into discomfort. And none of us want to be uncomfortable. So if you give permission for discomfort and then you give tools to navigate it, people behave so much better.
I that's been something I've been working on here as part of our book club. I haven't read Energy Bus, but you're the second person who recommended that recently, so I'm going to check that out.
Yes, definitely.
I'm a big fan of Patrick Lencioni.
Yes.
And he wrote The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And one of them is the avoidance of conflict.
Yep.
And so that's been something that we practiced here and gave people scripting, and, you know, getting people to do it is always a challenge, but it has, I feel like, led to some of those, we call it rumblings here, that are really productive and need to happen sooner than later. So
I'll tell you the one that I got queued up, just to tell you, to geek out on books. So the one that I have queued up right now is The 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. My son was reading it. So my son's 17, and he's just smart and just kind of like chewing on all this culture stuff, and told me to read it. And I was kind of blown away. I thought it was gonna be a big eye roll. But it was really pretty good. So that's what we might be reading next.
Cool. So Monique, another aspect of your business is you actually do business coaching with landscape business owners. You have a division of your company. What is it? Artisan Coaching?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so what are some of the challenges that you've found that, you know, landscape companies, maybe they haven't quite reached the $1 million mark, or maybe they're just over it. There are certain challenges that businesses face. What are some of them, and how do you help people with that?
Yeah. So one of the interesting things, having gone through all of these markers myself and having worked with coaches, there is a certain pain that happens, you know, at about $500,000. Then there's like this another pain that happens just before $1 million, and like breaking through it. And that happens all the way up the line. But what I was noticing is that the coaches that were working with me that wanted multi-million-dollar companies to be in their coaching family, that there was a gap. And my focus in my company is fine gardening and design and custom landscape development in the organic, sustainable marketplace. And what I was seeing is that the standard landscape model had a lot of coaches, but the fine gardening, designer, businesses that were like 5, 6, 700,000, maybe $1 million, maybe $1.2 million, they didn't have any coaches. And if they did have coaches, then they couldn't afford marketing. If they got marketing, they couldn't afford coaches. So I saw this gap and really wanted to work with the artisan brand. So the designer or gardener, fine gardener that wanted to develop something that was more than just what they could do as a solopreneur, which means they were now going to have the problems of back office, of policy procedure, of marketing, of branding. And while I don't specialize in the actual marketing work like you do, what I do is I help people find their own voice so that they can find the clarity, so that they can develop the service set of what they want to put into the market. And then I send them to you, because now that they have clarity and they have the language and sort of the content of what their business is, they're going to need a pro to help them put it out in the world. And that's really my goal, is to help them move into clarity and then get visible.
Yeah, that's so important. And one of the things that you talk about, I think in the book, and we were talking about in marketing, is getting clear on who is your customer. I mean, is really important, and what service do I actually offer them? That's my main focus. So I think, for those of you listening, definitely reach out to Monique for that if you'd like to.
And can I add one other thing? The other piece of it is, when you add clarity so that you understand who your client is and what the services you're selling, what that does is it shines a light. It helps you to shine a light internally now, so that you know who you are and who your team needs to be. And that's the next piece of the puzzle. And that's where culture comes in. So my work really helps them find that clarity so that they can find you and get the business. And then we continue to work together, shine the light on the inside so that they can find the right people to work with, have them stay there, build a culture, build an organizational chart, and now they can scale.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, I have one last question for you. We could hang out all day talking about books and everything. I found it interesting that you were a dancer, and that you studied entrepreneurship and then got so bored. Were you working at Macy's? Where were you working?
I was working at a place called T. Edwards. It's gone now. It was like a mall store.
So you were studying entrepreneurship and then working at some retail job, and you hated it, and someone asked you to spread mulch, and that led you into landscaping. And you wrote in here that you wanted to what did you say? It was so great. You were doing mulching, and you wanted to make sure that you were balancing the work on each side of your body.
Yeah.
I was curious, what was your background in dance, and do you still dance?
Yeah. Okay. So real briefly, I grew up dancing. I was a ballerina, and then when I got to high school, I found jazz. There was no hip hop back then. I would have definitely done that, but so then it was jazz, and then when I got to college, it's very hard. Like if you're not gonna study and become a dancer, it's kind of hard to find grown-up dance classes. And if you want to keep taking dance as you get older, you got to take dance with kids, and that's no fun. So I started bodybuilding, and so I was spending a lot of time in the gym. I was a total gym rat, and I was teaching aerobics and so, I was just always very physically fit, very focused on my center, very focused on structural balance in the body. So I'm at this job, and basically I'm a mulch monkey. I mean, I'm just definitely just like forking the mulch into the wheelbarrow, and they kept bringing it on the same side. And I was just like, dude, put it over there. And he's like, what? I'm like, put it over there. And when you come back, put it over there. And he thought it was out of my mind. First off, I'm the only girl on this crew, and I don't think they'd ever worked with a female before. And so I just had them alternating it. And so what I did was I started to, act like I was, doing squats. I was starting to really engage my thighs, my butt muscles, my lower back. I was trying to engage my traps and my, so anyway, it's just, I'm a total geek that way. And I saw landscaping. I was 18 years old, and I saw landscaping as oh my gosh, I'm getting paid to suntan and train. This is so cool. And that's kind of how I saw it. No, I don't dance anymore, but I just finished my 200-hour yoga certification. So my whole physical focus now is on yoga and emotional and spiritual. It's all yoga.
Wow. Okay. So you've published your book. You finished your 200-hour yoga teacher training. What else are you up to?
Well, so I'm gonna focus on yoga nidra, which is another kind of yoga, which is sort of a relaxation, or they call it the sleep yoga. And so I'm going to focus on that training and yoga, and then also anatomy, because I love that stuff. And then with business, we sort of stopped blogging and videoing and everything because it was all COVID all the time. And so I kind of took 6 months off from all writing. I just went, I don't know if you go to Inbound. I don't know if you know about the Inbound conference.
Yeah. I spoke there in 2016
Oh.
and it was really, really great. And I think they did it all virtual this year.
They did. Yeah. So I've been going for 4 years. So I must have missed you the first year, but so we just did that. We have a bunch of really cool ideas for amping up the blog, adding more video to email. We've been using Vidyard in HubSpot. We work on the HubSpot platform.
So like one-to-one email videos to clients?
Yeah. So I started that at the beginning of the year with COVID to deal with the angst in my clientele as well as the angst in my employees, and we were embedding video, and it was really working well. But I had a hard time keeping those things going when what I really had to do was figure out how we were going to be in trucks, and I'm sure all your listeners felt the same. So we'll pick all that back up. This fall, we're going to pick up blogging again, pick up the video work, and see about, just sort of amping all that back up again. And
Good. Well, yoga nidra is really an interesting topic. We have donated to the Give Back Yoga Foundation. Have you heard of them?
Oh, I have not.
Yeah, you should check out the Give Back Yoga Foundation.
Okay.
They do yoga for PTSD. They work with warriors. They do yoga for prisoners. They do yoga for first responders. It's a really interesting nonprofit that they have several people out near you. So you might even be able to get involved with that. So
thank you. I definitely will.
Yeah, cool. Well, Monique, thanks so much for being on the show. Where can people get a copy of your book and connect with you? Tell us a little bit about how we can do that.
Absolutely. So thegardencontinuum.com, just click on the shop on the upper right corner. You can go right there and you can get my book. You can even get it autographed, which I love sending autographed books. You can follow me on Instagram, the Garden Continuum on Instagram. And I think we post just about every day. We have a team of people who help me post, which is awesome. I do a book reading every Sunday. And that's a lot of fun. And then the blogs are free. So I have a business blog and I also have a fine gardening blog. So both blogs are on the website, and you can, just get on those and comment and let us know what you think.
Great. Monique, it's been such a pleasure interviewing you. And everyone who's listening, if you want to see a transcript of this interview and links to everything Monique just mentioned, you can see that at ramblinjackson.com/podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Landscaper's Guide to Modern Sales and Marketing, and I hope to see you next Friday. And in today's interview, Monique shares how to... Ooh. Dang. Oh, I did something weird with my ankle. All right.